Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this January 16th version of AM Live on EOA. Your connection to Eastern Oregon, and we're also on the EOA network.
Yeah, which means Roku, Instagram.
Yep.
We got a TikTok fired off. I mean, it's not. There's not a lot of followers yet, but we're gonna start trying to remember to post stuff to TikTok.
Yeah.
Just one more thing in my brain that I have to program. You know what I mean, to remember.
Well, and we can stream now to Instagram too. But I think you said, but they have a 10-minute limit on length.
There's a cap on how long. You can go, and then TikTok, you have to have 1,000 followers to go live, and we're not there. We got ways to go.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to hear something that I saw today that really kind of grabbed me? It was on social media. It says not believing in aliens is like dipping a spoon into the ocean and saying there's no sharks because there's not a shark in your spoon. I kind of like that one.
So, so this is an old argument, or a discussion you and I have. You are like totally convinced there are aliens, but no Bigfoot.
There's no Bigfoot.
Okay.
We would have seen it. There would at least be a turd or something. You know what I mean? Or a dead body. They can't hide. The Bigfoots are not that smart. Right. They can't hide every dead body in boat.
No, well, I know, but I just, I like I said, I don't think I have a strong opinion on either one of them.
I mean, just recently, with all the evidence that come out, you don't have a guy like that fighter pilot that recently testified in front of Congress.
Yeah.
He has no reason to lie about that.
Yeah.
The guy's like way up in the Air Force.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he has a lot of credibility. I believe him.
Well, and I don't know that I doubt anybody. Right. Yeah. It's just like,
Yeah, there's a reason why they don't let us in certain places.
So it's kind of like, Missouri. Missouri is called the show me state. And because it's like, show me. Yeah. Then I'll believe it. Yeah. So.
The NFL games this weekend were crazy. The Eagles lost, and that means Jason Kelce, who's probably the most popular athlete on the planet right now. I mean, with the New Heights podcast with his brother. Yeah. He announced his retirement.
Really?
He's done. Yeah, 13 years. 6-time All-Pro. First ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt.
Wow.
He's going to hang him up. He won a championship a few years ago. I mean,
yeah. So does it mean the Eagles are out of it?
They're done.
They lost last night?
They started the season 10-1.
Right.
They ended the season 11-6.
Huh. Wow.
So they lost 5 of their next 6 games, and then they lost in the playoffs.
Wow.
And they're done. Yeah, done.
So who else is in? Do you know off the top of that?
Yeah. So let's see. Last night the Bills won. The Eagles lost. Kansas City won. I'm trying to think. Oh, the Bucks. The Bucks are who beat the Eagles, so the Bucks are in. I don't know the rest of them right off the top of my head, but.
So who is still favored? Who do you think?
Well, I mean, you can't ever look past Kansas City with Mahomes, and then I don't know the other side. The NFC is kind of wide open. I mean, I don't know. That's a big question mark. Because the Lions won. The Lions won their first playoff game in 32 years.
Wow.
Yeah, at home, and it just happens to be that they get another home game now too.
Wow. Which
is crazy because it's the Lions. They didn't have any wins in 2018. They went 0-16 in 2018.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now all of a sudden they won their first playoff game in 32 years. Taylor Swift showed up in a Travis Kelce jersey made into a jacket that Kyle Juszczyk's wife, Kyle Juszczyk is the fullback for the 49ers. His wife made these jackets for Mahomes and Taylor Swift.
Right.
And it just blew up on social media. She made one for Taylor Lautner, who's like the kid from the what's that? Those movies with the vampires. Come on, BC, help me out. They shine in the. Anyways, made him one of Aiden Hutchinson. And then made the 2 girls one, and because she's been wearing his jersey, number 44 for the 49ers, to games, made into different stuff. She's a clothing designer, and she blew up over the weekend.
Oh,
I mean, Taylor Swift wore her stuff. That's
Wow.
crazy, man. Let's talk about the SAR thing. Yesterday evening, Sheriff Cody Bowen presented the award for SAR Member of the Year to longtime team member Chris Wilson at their banquet. Chris and her family have been the core of their team for many years. In addition to responding and assisting with missions, she can often be found working behind the scenes to organize training, staff fundraising activities, and assist with administrative tasks. They want to thank the dedicated team members, all of them, but especially Chris Wilson. They're the unsung heroes. Pretty cool. Yeah, that happened last night. And we found out recently that Cody's going to run again for sheriff, and it's going to be contested.
Yeah.
Shane Rollins is going to run again.
And Shane is one that ran against him.
Him and Bill Miller.
Yeah.
But Shane's, he's the military guy that ran, 3 years ago.
Lives out in Cove.
Yep. So,
Yep.
I mean, everybody has the right? Like, may as well, like, give Cody a little challenge, right?
Yep. That's part of what keeps the system upright.
Right.
Is accountability.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah. What do you want to do, sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm off Adams in the Grand. Go see the Daggett family. Their showroom's awesome. They have a huge selection of recliners, mattresses, home furnishings. Most of it's American made. Their showroom's beautiful. Northwest Furniture and Mattress. They want to make you comfortable in your own home. LHS girls wrestling had a very strong showing at the Classic this last weekend. They got second place, which is, awesome. This wrestling team, these girls, they're a 4A team. The only team that beat them was Thurston, a 5A team. And in girls wrestling, they have to do it a little different. In boys wrestling at the Classic, you see classifications. 5A wrestles 5A, 4A wrestles 4A. But in girls wrestling, because there's not quite as many teams, they have to combine some of the classifications. So, LeGrand was the best 4A team at that meet. And that meet is huge. It's the biggest dual tournament in Oregon of the year. The boys, they got third. They finished behind Sweet Home and Crook County, which are, two of the best teams. LeGrand, Sweet Home, and Crook County are the three best teams in the state. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with how they'll finish at state, because in this tournament, it's dual. It's a dual tournament, so you duel against another team in the bracket and you move forward. In state, it's all based on individuals and how much points they score. And you can qualify a certain amount of people at each weight. And in this tournament, it's just your 14 guys, one at every weight, against their top 14 guys, one at every weight. And if you beat them, you move on to the next school. And so LeGrand had a good showing, third place. The girls had a bunch of, 3 or 4 girls, I think, finished 7-0 on the weekend, which is, fantastic. Maddie Armstrong, Paige Allen, I know for sure both went 7-0. That's a good weekend when it comes to a dual tournament. The pictures were credit to Arlie Anderson and Jen Azure. Thanks a lot for those pictures. It's really, really awesome. The EOU men's hoops team split their Salem-Eugene trip this last weekend. They lost on Friday to Bushnell, but then they turned around on Saturday and beat Corbin, which was a huge win for them. They're 4-6 in the CCC. Right now they're in 7th place, which means if the season ended today, they'd make the tournament. So it's the top 8 teams in the CCC. So, and they looked really good against Corbin. I watched the game. It was like night and day compared to the weekend before. It really was. It was cool. The EOU women's basketball team saw Bev Slater pull down her 1,000th rebound. She became a member of the 1,000 rebound, the only member at EOU. So she's the only women's basketball player in history that has 1,000 rebounds at EOU. The cool thing is she's a part of the 1,000 rebound and 1,000 point club, which is a great thing. The EOU women's team, they won both of their games. They beat Bushnell 87-75 on Friday night, and they turned around and beat Corbin pretty handedly, 87-55 on Saturday. Both teams host the Gooey Ducks of Evergreen State on Friday, and then they turn around and host Northwest on Saturday right up here at Quinn. LHS boys and girls basketball games over the weekend were canceled against Mac High, so they play tonight against Pendleton in GOL action right here in LeGrand. Get up there and support them. The girls tip off at 6. The boys tip off at 7:30. And then finally, the EOU men's wrestling team goes to the Missouri Valley Invite this weekend. So they're on the road, and so is the women's. The women are going to wrestle in Forest Grove against Linfield and Pacific on Friday, and then turn around and stay in Forest Grove and wrestle in the Boxer Open on Saturday. I'm going to talk just a little bit about wrestling because I got to see something really cool this weekend, but also something that makes wrestling one of the most unique sports there is. My son wrestles for Dallas. His team was in the championship of the 5A at the Classic against Redmond, the host. They beat Redmond earlier in the year in the Northwest Duels, and it came down to the heavyweights, and my son is the heavyweight for Dallas. And this is what makes wrestling so unique. Dallas was down 34-30 going into that match. So basically, my son needs a major decision, a tech fall, or a pin for Dallas to win. Well, he doesn't get it. He beats the kid, the kid who got second place at state last year, 4-0. And this is the only sport where you win and you beat yourself up, because he won 4-0, right, individually, but in order for his team to win, he needed to score at least 5 points. Oh man! And he only scored 3. Yeah. So they lose by a point. Wow. And so it's so crazy that wrestling, it's individual, but it's also team, especially when you're at a dual tournament like this. And it's the one sport where you can win and still beat yourself up. It's so weird. It's a tough sport. Anyways, AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. They want to make you comfortable in your own home.
Yep. Well, and I've seen wrestlers, I'm sure you too have also. They'll do a takedown, get the 3 points, and then let the guy back up, because the escape is only 1.
Well, takedowns are only worth 2 in high school.
Takedown 2, okay, yeah.
They changed the rule this year. They're worth 3 in college now.
Okay,
that just changed this year.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. That's why you always hear 2 in the stands. Right. That's the takedowns in high school are worth 2. But yeah.
Have they always been 2 in high school? Okay.
Always. Yep.
Yeah. So, but anyhow, but the player or the wrestler, he would just run up the points. Yeah. Yeah, rather than go for the pin.
Yeah. But you only get 5 points for that. You get 6 for the pin.
6 right off for the pin?
Yeah. The most points you can score in a duel is 6 points, and it's for a pin.
Right, but you can accumulate more than 6 points.
No.
Oh, really?
No. I'm talking about for your team.
Right. Oh, I see.
Like the team score? Yeah. The most you can score for your team is 6 with a pin. Okay. You get 3 for a win, like a decision. Yeah. You get 4 for a major win, so I think that's 10 points or more, and I think you get 5 for a tech fall, and then 6 for a pin. So
a tech fall is a near pin?
Pin, I think it's 15 or more. Okay. You're up by 15 or more points, I think. Yeah. So you always want to pin. I mean, that's what hurt Dallas, my son's team, was they won 8 of the 14 matches against Redmond, but 5 of the 6 wins for Redmond against Dallas were pins. Yeah. So they got 30 points right there. Yeah. And so a lot of Dallas's wins were just decisions on points, so they only get 3 points for that. Got it. So they ended up in a position where Kyron was just
lost by 1.
Yeah, I mean that kid was the runner up in state last year at heavyweight. And Kyron, my son's staying at heavyweight this year. End not going to drop down. Huh. So we'll see. I mean,
be fun to watch.
Yeah, I was talking with Clell about him because Clell got to watch the end of that the end of the 5A Classic, and it's crazy. Like he's just like, man, he's good. Like he's been trying to get Kyron here for 4 years. Yeah. The funny thing is they ended up having to stay in Redmond until Monday, until yesterday, because the weather. Yeah. LeGrand came home Sunday night They were leaving Sunday morning. The bus broke down, and they ended up having to ride a bus with no heater all the way back from Redmond. Got home at 11:30 at night on Sunday night. I talked to Phil yesterday. Yeah. Yeah. Crazy, huh?
A bus with no heater, that would be...
That wouldn't be fun.
No, it'd be awful.
No.
Yeah.
It's cold.
Yeah.
Bad time for the heat to go out. Bad time for the bus to break down.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's look outside. Look at the weather here. It's freezing out there, and it has just been it's been cold.
At least it's not too horribly windy. We were on a wind advisory, but, I mean, it wasn't
Nothing
horrible
came
out there
yeah.
today.
Yeah, and then let's look at the weather, Benny. So 23 today, 19 tonight.
It's warming up.
Yeah.
Warming up, boys.
Warming up. Who would have ever thought that 19 degrees would be warm?
I need that to say 80.
Yeah. Do you?
Yes.
Yeah, but it definitely looks like, so by Sunday, the high is supposed to be in the 40s. So it's creeping up. So, but we had, I mean, we know this because we had a flood yesterday. We had one of the drains that leaked, and so yeah, and part of that was so. And I'm not sure when things begin to thaw how that's going to, if we're going to have a flood again. So it's a little unknown at this point. But
I was going to go on a rant about another post from that same guy about the high school game.
Yeah.
But I'm not even. I'm not even going to waste.
Well, just let me ask you a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So, when we have a game from the LHS high school gymnasium,
Yeah.
do we have any cameras there?
No.
Okay. So, how do we get the feed?
We go to their YouTube page.
Their YouTube page?
Yeah, which other people can
Which
watch
other
it
people
there
do.
too.
Okay, right, yeah. We go to their YouTube page.
Nobody's paying anybody anything. There's
That's
no
right,
advertisement.
Right. Okay, and so what happens if somebody does not program the camera in the gymnasium correctly and it shuts off in the middle of the game?
Then their feed stops.
Their feed stops, right.
Who's responsible for that? They are.
Yeah,
And,
right.
and there's no advertising. Nobody's paying them to do it.
Right, yeah.
I could just go off on this, but anyways,
It's
not worth.
a funny thing. So,
But and here's the thing: the person that we're talking about isn't even going to see this because they only use us for what they want for free. They're not like a fan of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So really but if he does see this, I put my phone number and the address. If you want to talk about, our mission statement and our integrity, feel free to stop by. We're open.
yep. All righty. Yeah, you guys should go get a digital TV station. It is fun, but there are times it's challenging. So, all righty. Well, right after this, we're going to have Aubrey Slaughter is going to be with us from the Elgin Opera House, and we're going to talk about everything Elgin Opera House right after this.
Eastern Oregon is full of interesting people, with interesting minds and interesting things to say. Here at EO Live, we're committed to connecting you to these intriguing people with EO Talks. We let our special guests share their ideas and life experiences with deep, open, engaging, and inquisitive conversations. You'll also be informed in depth on some of the most recent and relevant events, issues, and more. EO Talks on EO Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku. Here in Eastern Oregon, we're blessed to live in such a wonderful area. And though it may seem mild-mannered, there's actually quite a lot that goes on in this area. And apparently, there's two dinguses who happen to be here that are actually crazy enough to get up at the crack of dawn to talk about it. Tune in to AM Live on EOA with Brent and Dodsey, featuring special guests, weather, sports, news, and more, every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m., only on EOA Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku.
right, we're back with Aubrey Slaughter from, today you're representing the Elgin Opera House.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily where you're from, but
No.
yeah. So, but thanks for being here with us. And I'm constantly trying to interface with Terry and get him to let us talk about you guys more in some manner. And so then the other day in a text, well, I guess I was talking to him on the phone, and we were talking about the possibility of you or your husband coming and talking to us about the Elgin Opera House, because there's some cool things going on right now.
Yeah.
So, but before we get into that, let's talk about you. Okay. So tell me where you were raised and how you got to Eastern Oregon.
Yeah. So mostly I was raised I thought it was a small town, and then I came out here and realized that my small town wasn't a small town. But I grew up in Wilsonville, Oregon, which is about 30 minutes south of Portland, and has a population, I think, of like 20,000 people or something. It's a lot, and I don't think 20,000 is a lot, but it was a lot. But before that, I was born in Spokane, Washington, moved to California, Indiana, Michigan, and then ended up in Oregon. And then after I graduated high school, I applied for a bunch of colleges, and EOU gave me a bunch of music scholarships. So I ended up going to EOU for music, and then met my husband, and we moved back to like the Wilsonville area. And then last June we bought a house in Somerville.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I've been a little all over.
So when did you graduate from EOU?
Oh, man. This is going to age myself. I graduated in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so long ago.
I thought she was going to say like 2004. She's acting like she's like 50.
No, but I mean, it's crazy how fast the time goes by. They say as you get older, it goes faster, and now
It does.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, like that's what, 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
Oh, I know. Yeah. And it's funny because the older you get, the thing you talk about is how fast time goes by and the weather. And so, yeah, those things will continue to creep in on you. It's
Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's crazy.
Now, are you guys still, for a while you were commuting back and forth, or you had things that you were involved in on the west side also? Is that still the case, or?
Not as much. I was doing professional shows in the Portland area for a while, and then he got offered a full-time resident music director position at the Opera House, so we were renting out here and renting in Portland. And then when he wanted to go back to school and get his music degree, we were like, oh, we should just go buy a house. And so we started looking for a house, and ended up in Somerville, where we have 5 acres now. And so I am planning on doing shows back over there again at some point, but right now we're just kind of settling in. And I've been very involved with the Opera House, which has consumed a lot of my time.
Yeah. Well, and it does that.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it just takes a tremendous amount of energy. I mean, it's an amazing place, you know. It just kind of sucks in capable people, and and so then, because there's just a lot, it's like, oh, well, with those person's talents, we could do this, and so it just continues to expand.
Yeah, it's the most fulfilling exhaustion. It's truly like, I don't know, I think people who don't do the arts don't always understand like the pull that it has, because but it's the same as sports. Like, you're passionate about wrestling or basketball or anything like that, and it's the same for the arts. It's just like you go to practice for soccer, you go to practice for a show, and then you do your games, but it's performances and stuff, and it's amazing.
So how did you get started in acting? And you sing also, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I got started, so my mom actually, I think I was like 6 or 7 years old, and my mom brought home the Mamma Mia DVD, and she handed it to me, and she said, watch this, it's terrible. And I said, okay.
It's terrible?
She told me it's terrible.
Okay.
And so I watched it, and of course I fell in love with it. And so I got involved. I actually started playing violin first. And then I got into choir when I was 8, and then I started doing voice lessons and was trained operatically. And then in high school, I got a different voice teacher, and she was like, "Have you ever tried musical theater?" And I was like, "Oh, I mean, I've sung a couple of songs. I've been in a couple of shows." And she was like, "Well, we should do it." And then I was like heavily involved with musical theater after that.
It's kind of funny because I've had a similar course, started singing when I was young and then got involved in musical theater. But and once I'm in a musical, I mean, it is so enjoyable. It really is. Mm-hmm. But I don't really like watching musicals very much. I don't know. I mean, do you have anything like that? Do you feel, I mean, it's not necessarily a genre that I love to watch, but I love to be involved in.
Yeah, I mean, when I go and watch shows, I always enjoy them. And, of course, a lot of my friends are in shows, so I go and watch them in shows and stuff. But there's a little bit of FOMO when you go and watch them where you're like, oh, I want to be on the stage too. So it's definitely harder to be like in the audience or off stage and doing like the tech roles than it is to be on stage for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I totally relate with that. And I really enjoyed, I guess, I'm sure you've seen Spirited, the Christmas musical, you know, and that was amazing. I mean, a lot of times with musical theater, you can they have weak dialogue that is connecting to good songs.
Yes.
It's, whatever that might be, it's like, oh, there's an excuse for a song coming up, and I mean, in Spirited was funny because they made fun of that. They kind of leaned into that. Oh, I think there's a song coming on, and so on and so forth. So, but anyhow, the music though, it depends on the songs. I mean, the some songs just pull you in. They're fun to listen to. They're just,
Yeah. I always talk about. I love it when the music swells and you're just. I'm trying to think of like a good example that a lot of people would know. But I just can't explain it. Like you can just feel it. It's like a whole body experience and you get like little goosebumps and stuff. And I can't think of any specific songs right now, but there's just so many of them. And I love it when that happens in the musicals is when like you're just captivated by.
Just kind of pulled in. Yeah. Well, let's talk about what is going on with the Elgin Opera House youth. And I mean, talk about that whole program and they're getting ready to go on a trip.
So the Opera House youth group, they're called Oh Yeah. They are a competitive theater group of kids. I think their ages like 7 to 19, I think. Insanely talented kids. I sit in their rehearsals every week because I help with social media and I'm like their trip coordinator and stuff. And it is insane how talented they are and how quickly they pick up on stuff. But they're going to Disney in March and they'll be performing for Disney itself. And they're going to do some workshops and then of course you get to go play in the parks and stuff. So it's a really cool experience for them to get feedback from professionals who could potentially cast them one day.
Yeah. So, and do they compete against other groups in that setting?
Not this year.
Okay.
As far as I know, it's not a competition, but they do participate it's called Junior Theater Festival or JTF. And they've done that, I think 3 times now, and they've won several awards. And actually Terry won the Freddie G Award, which is a huge honor amongst directors. But they've gotten things from like Best Show, Best Performer, Best Choreography. I think they've gotten like 6 or 7 awards for going there. Just so crazy. But they kind of alternate years. So one year they'll go and do a workshop where they get a lot of feedback and then they'll go compete and then they'll go and do a workshop and that way they get a lot of exposure and a lot of different experiences.
Yeah. Well, and one of the powerful things about the Elgin Opera House is this collection of talent over the years, and so I don't know this particular group, but I mean, Terry's been doing this, it's got to be close to 20 years now. And then over that period of time, the shows that he's done have required small children, and now those children are adults, or some of those children that were maybe toddlers in the show are now teenagers or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just like any sports program where you start, you start baseball early, and then over a period of time, it just gathers this pool of people, and it just sucks in more and more talented people. The wrestling program here in La Grande is a perfect example of that. They've been so successful, it just pulls in people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, and that's super powerful.
Oh yeah, for sure. And they started doing in 2017 was the first year that they did the summer camps. So they did Wizard of Oz, and I think we had like 100 kids sign up. So you have all of these kids who have never experienced theater before, or maybe saw one show or two shows at the Opera House, who are all in this camp, and they got to be like little flowers during the poppy scene. And I think they were, they were in the Munchkin scene and stuff. And a lot of those kids, it's pretty crazy because I was in Wizard of Oz. And so talk about feeling old. A lot of those kids are now like 16 and 17 years old, or even some of them are adults and stuff. So it's really crazy to see them go from like these little kids who played this role and said like 3 words and are now like full-on actors who are just so talented.
Wow. So now, when is that trip? When are you guys going on that?
It'll be in March. It's March 5th through the 10th.
Wow. Okay. And how do you guys, do they fund that themselves, or do you fundraise, or?
So we are actually having a fundraiser.
Okay.
It'll be on February 10th. We're doing a gala, and the theme's Great Moments in Time. So we're inviting audience's favorite performers to come back and revive some of their roles. So like Trevor's going to come back, or actually the entire School of Rock band is coming back, and they're going to do a song from School of Rock. Or we have Carly McKenzie, who played Belle, and so she's going to come back and sing a song from Beauty and the Beast. Hunter Adams is coming back. So a lot of these like really big name actors who've been super involved with the Opera House are all coming back to sing songs from shows that they've done in the past. Yeah, and then the goal is to do a silent auction. So we're working on getting some like donations and baskets so that we can do the silent auction and stuff. But everything that's raised that night is going to go towards them and their trip.
Wow. And what day is that again?
February 10th.
Okay.
And we're doing an online feed because we're actually almost sold out for the in-person one.
Yeah.
Which is a great problem to have. So we're going to do an online feed, so you can either do it from the comfort of your home, or you can come and join us. And we're going to have a night where we're encouraging people to be fancy, so that way people can wear nice dresses and just have a really good night with all their friends and family.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Great. So now, what else is going on? Talk to me about the upcoming shows that are happening.
Yeah, so the closest one is going to be Murder on the Orient Express, and that's actually in our newer theater, the Jewel Theater. So if the Opera House is here, if you go down the road, there are Jewel Theaters right over there, and it's beautiful. So they're going to be doing that, and that opens on, I wrote it down, on February 17th, and there's a lot of big names in that one too. And then after that, we have our first musical of the year, which is going to be Big Fish, and it's based off of the movie, and that one's going to be, if you saw Tuck Everlasting, it's going to be kind of like that.
Oh, interesting.
Oh,
okay.
It's going to be so beautiful. And then the summer camp's going to be Lion King Jr., and I don't know when signups happen, but last year I guess they sold out within days. So make sure that if you are following that you're watching that quickly. And then their last show is there's going to be probably another show in between Lion King and Elf, which is going to be our December show. I don't know what that is yet, so I'm sure I will find out with everybody else. But yeah,
Well,
it's a really cool season.
Yeah, and so you guys are Terry, and I mean, they get together and decide what are going to be the shows for this following year, right? Yeah. So, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Terry is, I mean, I went on a road trip with Terry once, and he has seen so many shows.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many Broadway shows. I think I asked him one time, like, what's the number up to, and I can't remember. But he's just he just absorbs stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you ever have the pleasure of sitting in the room while he's like envisioning a show, so I'm in Big Fish, and I'm helping with like a lot of the marketing and stuff. So I've had to have a lot of meetings with him. And if you've ever sat in the room with him while he's talking about or like imagining the set and the music and the blocking, it is just, I can't. It's like a magical experience. I just feel like I'm sitting in front of a genius, and I just want to absorb everything he's saying too.
Yeah.
And he's so cool, and he's one of our dearest friends.
Yeah.
We've gotten really close over the years. So it's kind of an honor to like get to be on this side of things where I get to help the program and help build it.
Well, and it's funny because I didn't know Terry until we were really in the dressing room together all the time. So I didn't know him as the artistic director of the Opera House. I knew him as he was Colonel Pickering and I was Henry Higgins, you know. And so I got to know him personally, which was he's just been a dear friend.
Yeah,
So,
he's a good guy.
yeah. Well, cool. Well, awesome. Is there anything else that we've missed? Any highlights out there that's going on?
Try to think if there's anything else, because I always get done with these kinds of things,
Yeah.
and I'm like, dang it, I should have mentioned
Yeah.
it, which is why I wrote notes. But
Yeah.
I think I've covered I guess the other thing is we are always looking for volunteers. We need people to help with set building and costuming and all kinds of stuff. So we have a Facebook group now. It's a program that I've initiated that's long overdue. So you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. I hope it's okay that I'm plugging this kind of stuff.
Yep.
But you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you're interested in volunteering, it's a tax write-off, and you're just around really cool, creative people, and so I highly suggest following all of that stuff as well.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to you before we quit. What do you want to do? What do you kind of see out there? For you to. What are your goals out there?
Yeah, I used to say that I wanted to be on Broadway, and I would still, if Broadway called me today and was like, hey, I want you to come do this, of course I'm going to say yes, but I just want to make good music with good people, and I used to kind of chase theater for the paycheck, and it kind of became unfun for me because it was about getting paid to do it. So I just started saying yes to projects that I truly wanted to be a part of, and ever since I did that, I've just loved every minute of it. And so that's kind of what I want to keep doing, is just keep saying yes to projects where I'm around those kinds of people and doing those kinds of things.
Well, good. Well, we'll have to have you come back with Trevor sometime, your husband, because there's just I've been trying to get him to come on for a while, but his schedule, you guys' schedule is crazy. But still, we have a lot of intersecting interests, and it would be good to have you. But thanks for what you're doing out there.
Yeah, of course. And if you ever need anything, I'm the type A person. Everybody there is the type B, so they kind of come to me for the organization part. So if you come to me, I can say, hey, this is what we're doing, or this is what we need. And so,
good.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, do you want to get us out of here, man?
Yeah, let's do it. Bud Forrest said earlier, he made a comment, I missed it, about Kyron. He said, proud dad moment, tough sport. Yeah, it is. Wrestling is the toughest sport there is, by far. And I didn't even do it in high school. I quit wrestling because I had to wrestle a girl in 8th grade, and I was anti that, so I quit, and I started playing basketball. But wrestling is a very, very tough sport. On this day, January 16th, 1493, Christopher Columbus leaves the New World and sets sail for Spain. On this day in 1547, Ivan the Terrible, aged 17-year-old, crowned himself the first Tsar of Moscow. Can you imagine being 17 years old and being a Tsar? I mean, well, there's been like kings that were like 3 or 4 years old. It's crazy. 1919, on this day, the 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution authorizing the prohibition of alcohol is ratified by a majority of the United States.
What year? 19?
1919, when Prohibition started, yep. 1942, William Knudsen becomes the first civilian appointed a general by the U.S. Army.
Oh.
Yeah, that's weird, huh?
Yeah.
The civilian appointed a general. Like, hey, you look like general material.
Wonder
You're
how
gonna
that
be a
works.
general.
Yeah.
1973, NBC presents the 440th and final showing of the Western series Bonanza. 2016, the first ever flower is grown in space. A zinnia aboard the International Space Station using the NASA Veggie system. The #1 song in America on this day in 1994, Hero by Mariah Carey. And then the quote of the day comes from none other than the GOAT, Michael Jordan. Obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it, go through it, or work around it. One more time. Obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it, go through it, or work around it. Yeah.
Cool.
A lot of people want to argue that Jordan's the GOAT.
I know. I was going
the whole LeBron thing, but I mean, hey, LeBron is I'm not anti-LeBron. I mean, there's an argument there.
Yeah. So I talked to somebody the other day who was totally convinced that Mariah Carey is not the original Mariah Carey. That she's a clone or a remake. Yeah. Yeah, I don't, yeah. Yeah. And he had, it was, I mean, he was totally convinced.
On what basis? She hasn't aged?
I don't know. Those kind of conversations I don't really enter into.
Yeah,
you know, 'cause
just
like,
kind of check
yeah,
out.
it's kind of like if if you had a Bigfoot experience, I'd go, oh,
BC, I'm
good
not
for
going to have
you.
a Bigfoot. You know what's funny? We're talking about that. I watched a Bigfoot show last night on YouTube.
Yeah, did you?
These guys, man, they're just... This one guy said that he was in his tent and he looked out and he saw these big eyes looking down on him. I'm like, where's the, you know what I mean? They had to have left some sort of hair or something behind. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, never anything.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Aubrey, thank you
Yeah,
so much
thank
for
you.
being with us. Yeah, really appreciate it this
you.
morning. Yeah.
See you on Thursday.
All right. See you soon.